The storms you've endured weren't signs of weakness, they were signs of destiny carving out a sharper edge within you. What you couldn't see in the haze was that a grand design has been moving in silence, setting the stage for a revelation that will flip the script entirely. There was someone moving with hidden intentions, trying to plant shadows over your name as if they had the power to dictate your fate. Their schemes were not whispers of harmless chatter, they were attempts to engineer an entire false reality about who you are. Yet here's the irony. While they believed they were pulling strings, they only ended up weaving a snare that tightens around themselves. This wasn't a petty rumor, it was a calculated strike meant to dismantle your essence. They attempted to draft a false version of your story, casting you in a role you were never meant to play. But what they failed to realize is that your truth cannot be erased, and no matter how convincing the mask they wear, the weight of deception eventually collapses under its own lies. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to stay connected, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and let your voice be heard. Radiance that cannot be hidden often attracts shadows that try to distort its glow. There have been voices eager to repaint your victories as illusions, dismissing your path as if it were built on nothing but air. They spread notions that your progress is counterfeit, twisting genuine achievements into tales of trickery, hoping to turn admiration into suspicion. Yet the structure of their deception trembles under its own weight. Believing themselves masters of influence, they attempted to sculpt false realities, imagining they could bind your spirit in walls of doubt. Their arrogance was in thinking that borrowed authority could ever cage a soul fortified by truth. Their aim was to fracture your self-belief, to press you into shrinking from your brilliance, to lure you into mistaking their accusations for reality. But their greatest flaw was assuming fragility where there is resilience, assuming solitude where there is unseen support, assuming emptiness where there is overflowing power. Your openness, your sincerity, your unwavering heart, these were misread as softness, as though authenticity meant fragility. They thought if they stirred enough confusion, if they seeded enough suspicion, you would abandon the path that is already written for you. The scale of their misjudgment is staggering. And so they spun a labyrinth of deception, scattering fragments of falsehood like shards of broken glass in every direction. They carried these tales to allies, to acquaintances, even to those closest to you, determined to taint every bond you've nurtured. The narrative sought to paint you as a manipulator of hearts, when in reality, their canvas is nothing but a projection of their own schemes. Those who rise with light in their spirit inevitably attract those who thrive in shadows. False portraits have been painted, trying to cast you as reckless, untrustworthy, and unworthy of honor. But what they never understood is that destiny doesn't bend to slander. While they invested their energy in distortion, you were quietly aligning with the very greatness they swore you would never embody. As they schemed for your collapse, forces greater than them were already setting the stage for their undoing. Every seed of malice they scattered has circled back, striking with an accuracy they never anticipated. Their cruelest tactic was not merely in fabricating stories, but in trying to twist your journey of growth into a weapon against you. Moments where you were open, where you embraced change, where you spoke with honesty about the trials you overcame, these were contorted into tools of mockery. They mislabeled your resilience as weakness, your evolution as failure, and your openness as deception. They believed transparency could be tarnished, not realizing that truth always outlives distortion. Their ambition stretched even further, leading them to construct elaborate illusions. They invented scenes, conjured counterfeit allies, and pieced together fragments of conversations to stitch a false identity. They studied your rhythm, your bonds, your very language, so their falsehoods would seem convincing to those too distant to know the truth of your heart. But every curtain eventually lifts, and their theater of lies is collapsing under its own weight. The image they presented with confidence now trembles, revealing cracks that can no longer be hidden. The charm they once wielded now sounds empty, and those who listen begin to see the trickery for what it is. Their certainty, once sharp like a blade, is dulling as revelation's surface. To their dismay, many of the people they thought had been deceived were never under their control at all. Instead, some were watching closely, documenting every maneuver, ready to reveal the extent of their dishonesty. The very strategies they used to corner you have become the chains binding them. What was meant to be your downfall has transformed into undeniable proof of their own corruption. The tide has shifted, and the same current they tried to drown you in is carrying them into the exposure they thought they'd never face. What was meant to corner you has become the very evidence that frees you. Some who were initially pulled into the schemes didn't buy the act at all. They chose to observe, to keep track, to quietly gather every slip and contradiction. The person who believed they were untouchable never imagined that their own recruits would turn into living records of their downfall. They were convinced the stage belonged to them, but the script was never in their hands. The story continues with you, so subscribe, drop a comment, and let's rise together. The illusion of dominance has shattered. They imagined they could dictate the limits of your growth, directing whispers, steering perceptions, planting doubt like seeds in soil they thought they owned. But the very force of truth is unraveling their attempts. What was meant to confine you has become the very cage in which they now struggle. The same momentum they used to try and drag you down has become the current sweeping them away. Consequences arrive faster when destiny is interfered with. To tamper with a chosen path is to challenge laws written into existence itself. The shield around you isn't abstract, it is woven into the essence of life, ensuring balance restores itself. The grand structure of deception they constructed is splintering, collapsing spectacularly under the weight of reality they cannot outrun. Those who once listened to their fabrications are now comparing truths, piecing together discrepancies that can no longer be ignored. Conversations are being revisited, inconsistencies uncovered, and the clarity of exposure is cutting through the fog of manipulation. The confidence of the deceiver is giving way to panic, because their trusted circle no longer trusts. The very alliance they believed would secure their power has reversed course. Instead of protection, it has become testimony. Instead of loyalty, it has become accountability. Their empire of influence has turned into a mirror reflecting every falsity they crafted. The reach they once celebrated is now the reach that reveals their betrayal. The extent to which they invaded your story, tracing your steps, analyzing your words, mapping your life, is now seen not as strategy but as desperation. Every detail they tried to exploit has become evidence of how obsessed and unstable their pursuit truly was. What they called mastery is now exposed as obsession without substance. The downfall is not quiet, it resounds. Every plot, every false word, every mask worn is unraveling publicly. What was once hidden behind charm is now revealed as hollow. The strength they thought they had over you was never real, it was borrowed, it was fragile, and now it is gone. The stage they tried to steal has become the platform that shows the world exactly who they are. Every step you've taken forward has been watched by eyes obsessed with pulling you back. They've scoured through your life with the focus of someone desperate, dissecting words, studying connections, and hoarding fragments as if they were building a secret archive against you. Their fixation hasn't been casual, it's been an exhausting devotion to sabotaging a destiny they cannot touch. They transformed their existence into a ritual of resentment, constructing a second life built entirely around plotting your undoing. Outwardly they play the part of normalcy, but in private, their entire energy is consumed with schemes, charts, and strategies designed to harm what they could never create themselves. It's an imitation of power, but one that corrodes them from within. Their attempts haven't been random, they've been calculated, released with timing and structure, each attack dropped as though part of a larger plan. What's most unsettling is how they try to weave their fabrications into the heart of your closest bonds. They weren't content to whisper to strangers, they embedded themselves in sensitive places, turning shared history and intimacy into weapons. Those closest to you became the targets of manipulation. Old conflicts were resurrected, vulnerabilities were twisted, and trust was poisoned deliberately. They thought that if they could fracture strong allies, if they could tilt the balance of loyalty in your inner circle, they could dismantle both your opportunities and your personal joy. Their tactics weren't just cruel, they were calculated betrayals of the deepest kind. They aimed especially at triggering fears, planting stories that played on hidden doubts and insecurities. They branded you with lies that framed your strength as danger, your wisdom as trickery, your light as disguise. Yet, the very people they conscripted into their plan are now peeling away, realizing they were pawns in a hollow performance. Those same recruits who once echoed their venom are abandoning the sinking foundation. The accomplices they relied upon are now revealing details, distancing themselves, and handing over proof of the manipulation. The fortress built out of envy is crumbling, not from outside attack, but from those inside recognizing the truth and walking away. And now the weight of exposure bears down on them. The time, energy, and resources they invested into trying to chain your destiny are slipping through their hands. What they thought was control has revealed itself as desperation. While their false empire collapses, you stand taller, brighter, and more aligned than ever. Their obsession has only proven one thing: the more they tried to bury your light, the more undeniable it became. Every attempt to diminish you became the very spark that magnified your rise. What was meant to weaken your presence only strengthened your influence, and what was supposed to isolate you only cleared the path of unnecessary attachments. Their efforts to bury your brilliance became fertilizer for your growth, accelerating your transformation beyond what they could comprehend. Now the very people they tried to sway are turning the mirror back on them. Questions are surfacing. Why such obsession? Why such relentless focus on tearing down another's soul? Those who were once swayed by their narrative are beginning to sense the deeper truth, realizing that the one most invested in destruction is the one revealing their own corruption. Family ties they once attempted to fracture are recognizing the pattern of manipulation. The unease spreading through their camp is palpable, because those they thought were fooled are now confronting them. The misplaced loyalty they once enjoyed has turned to anger, especially from those who see how intentionally their trust was abused. The masks are slipping, and what's left is raw exposure. Their closest collaborators are awakening to the toxicity they aligned with, watching the charade collapse under its own weight. What's most devastating for this manipulator is not the collapse itself, but the recognition that their entire existence became centered on stopping you. While you expanded, they obsessed. While you created, they destroyed themselves. Their focus on chaos left no room for building a future of their own. Their relationships, opportunities, and peace of mind all decayed because they poured their life force into shadow games. They lived tethered to your every step, not because of admiration, but because they couldn't bear to see you flourish. The fixation became their identity, an identity built entirely on envy. They know the details of your life not as a friend would, but as a captor studies their target, an unsettling devotion driven by insecurity and fear. Saving conversations, watching for missteps, documenting your progress, these actions weren't born from inspiration but from an insatiable need to discredit you. It exposed not your weakness, but their fractured state of mind. And now the cell they built from hatred has sealed around them. The energy they invested in destruction has become the chains of their own downfall. What was once a campaign against you has become a sentence against themselves, and as their structure collapses, you continue to ascend with clarity and strength that no scheme could ever undo. When the mask begins to slip, desperation drives a person into chaos. Their behavior has grown increasingly frantic, a storm of contradictions that betrays the panic they're trying to conceal. The more they attempt to control the narrative, the more obvious it becomes that they've lost it entirely. Every new claim reveals more of their own corruption, and every frantic message only tightens the spotlight on their guilt. The charm they once leaned on is now useless. Those they attempt to rally for sympathy already know the pattern, already see through the performance. Their words, once polished and persuasive, now ring hollow and suspicious. Trust is gone, and even genuine attempts to explain are dismissed, because no one believes a voice that has been proven false too many times. The pressure of exposure is eating away at their health. Carrying so many lies has drained not just their spirit but their body, leaving them weakened by the very stress they created. The weight of pretending has manifested physically, and in a twist of irony, they now endure the very struggles they once projected onto you. What they spoke as slander has become their own reality. Their external world mirrors the collapse within. Living arrangements are breaking down, close ties are unraveling, and every environment once thought to be safe is turning against them. The fallout of their actions follows them everywhere, stripping away comfort and leaving them with the harsh task of rebuilding in places where their history isn't yet known. The ground beneath them can no longer hold. A life constructed on deception cannot endure, and every crack in their foundation is now visible to all. What's almost poetic is that their attempt to discredit you has made it undeniable who the true deceiver was all along. They accused you of being manipulative while exposing themselves as the architect of manipulation. In trying to tarnish your trustworthiness, they illuminated their own duplicity. The distortions they tried to project onto your reflection have circled back like a mirror showing nothing but their own fractured truth. While they were consumed with envy and bitterness, you were aligning with strength, abundance, and growth that no shadow can touch. This story isn't ending with their victory, it's ending with their exposure. Every move made against you has ricocheted back, stripping away their facade piece by piece. And while their world collapses under the weight of lies, yours expands, radiant and unshaken, proof that no scheme can stand against the force of a destiny that refuses to be dimmed. Every shadow they cast only made your light stand out brighter. While they tangled themselves in deceit, you were being shaped into someone sharper, wiser, and more attuned to truth. The split between your path and theirs has become so vast that it's impossible not to notice. What they meant for destruction has been the very process that refined your insight and strengthened your inner compass beyond measure. Through this ordeal, you've gained mastery over perception. No disguise can fool you, no sweet words can hide malicious intent, no mask can cloud your clarity. What they hoped would leave you broken has left you discerning, and this newfound wisdom is something you'll carry into every arena of your future. Meanwhile, their own story is crumbling beneath the weight of what they unleashed, because the chains they forged for you have locked them inside their own downfall. The loneliness they tried to wrap around you has wrapped itself around them instead. They wanted you silenced, but it is they who find themselves unheard. The irony is chilling. Every wall they built for you has become their own prison. And yet for you, every blow they threw has become fuel, each falsehood turned into undeniable proof of your strength. Your brilliance has multiplied in the face of their sabotage. They couldn't dim you, in fact, they accidentally made you impossible to ignore. The ones who truly see you now recognize the depth of your worth. Even those who were once clouded by lies are awakening, and the support that truly matters stands firmly at your side. The flow of blessings they tried to obstruct is unstoppable now. Doors that were jammed shut are swinging wide open, opportunities are finding you with ease, and the abundance that was delayed is arriving in even greater measure. The attempts to curse you have backfired, becoming loud announcements of the powerful essence you carry. And in the center of it all is their defeat, comprehensive, undeniable, and irreversible. Not simply the failure of a scheme, but the collapse of an entire way of seeing the world. They operated under the illusion that deception shapes reality, but they're witnessing the ultimate truth. Only authenticity stands when all else falls away. Their obsession has ended in ruin, but your journey continues upward. What they thought was the end for you has been the beginning of your expansion. Their downfall is the echo of lies collapsing, while your rise is the living proof that no falsehood can outlast the brilliance of truth. True strength revealed itself not in retaliation, but in restraint. There was no need for shouting matches or desperate defenses. Instead, you embodied calm persistence, allowing your actions, your integrity, and your steady alignment with truth to dismantle everything they tried to build against you. Silence became a louder weapon than any argument could ever be, and presence itself did the work that words never needed to. Meanwhile, the backlash they face now is far beyond anything they could have anticipated. Every corner of their life is showing cracks, every alliance they thought was stable is splintering, and their name carries the weight of distrust wherever it's spoken. The destruction they intended for you has found its way home to them, multiplied and undeniable. Their downfall is no mystery. A life built on falsehood will always collapse, because lies have no foundation strong enough to last. What they thought was security was nothing more than illusion, a structure incapable of withstanding exposure. The friendships they manipulated, the loyalties they forced, the alliances formed through venom, they were always temporary, and now they are dissolving before their eyes. Those once persuaded by their charm are now repelled by the toxicity hidden beneath it. The very people they worked hardest to turn against you now look at them with disgust, seeing them clearly for what they are. What they spun as cleverness has revealed itself as corruption, and what they called power is now recognized as nothing more than deceit. The beauty of this moment is not only in their collapse, but in your elevation. While their empire of lies crumbles, your foundation of truth rises taller. The contrast between your construction and their destruction has never been more visible. For every false step they made, you planted a step in authenticity. For every shadow they spread, you lit another flame. And now, what you built endures. The path that was slowed by their interference is accelerating, bringing opportunities, partnerships, and abundance flowing in your direction. Their attacks have become free advertising for your resilience, each attempt at slander only proving more of your unshakable character. What remains undeniable is this: they fought to pull you down while you rose without lifting a finger against them. Their energy was consumed in creating downfall, and yours was invested in creating legacy. The result is simple: everything they tried to strip away has been multiplied, and everything they tried to secure for themselves has been stripped completely. Your life has been reinforced by principles that cannot be shaken. While others tried to build illusions on unstable ground, you were laying a structure rooted in integrity and endurance. Every obstacle you've overcome has been training for this moment, sharpening your instincts and fortifying your spirit until nothing could knock you off your course. What they mistook as fragility was preparation, and now it shows. You are not standing alone. Your true soul tribe gathers, those who resonate with your journey and understand the weight you've carried. This family of spirit doesn't turn away when things get heavy, doesn't minimize your struggle, and doesn't consume your pain like entertainment. The very separation you endured from the crowd was never exile, it was initiation into a deeper belonging. They are now attempting to patch the wreckage of their schemes, flailing to rewrite a story that's already out of their hands. Their panic seeps into every interaction, their explanations clash with evidence, and their words betray desperation. No amount of spin can hide the truth that's been revealed, because once trust is broken, no performance can bring it back. The charm they depended on is corroded, their carefully crafted identity collapsing under the weight of exposure. This is not just a minor loss, it is the unraveling of the role they lived for. They imagined themselves as orchestrator, but the illusion is shattered, leaving them with nothing but the ruins of their own pretense. Now reality sets in. They were never directing the game, they were merely a disposable piece on a board they didn't understand. Those they manipulated are reclaiming their power, furious at being used as pawns. The very forces that once seemed aligned against you are now turning in anger against the one who deceived them. The fury that was misdirected at you is finding its rightful target. Those who were blinded are regaining sight, and their outrage fuels your liberation. At the same time, you are stepping into the recognition and influence that has always been your destiny, the space that no slander could keep from you. Every barrier they placed has dissolved, every lie they told is collapsing under scrutiny, and every attempt to bury you has only propelled you higher. Their actions became the catalyst for your ascension, ensuring your story unfolds with greater force. And now, faced with the consequences of their obsession, they stand at a crossroads, admit their failure and confront shame, or double down and face ruin. Either way, the ending is the same: you rise, they fall.